Hey there, my friends. Derek from Bomb Socks here with another edition of Bomb Bites, feasting upon the words of Christ, one bite at a time. So in Alma 37, you have got Alma giving his son Helaman care over these things right here. So these are the plates. These are what have been passed on from writer to writer to writer, and now Alma has given him to his son Helaman. And these things are super important. Now, as I keep using, you probably see I'm using the words these things. I'm using that very deliberately because all through chapter 37, you see that phrase, these things, over and over again. For example, look at verse number 2. Verse number 2 says, "And I also command you that you keep a record of this people, according as I have done, upon the plates of Nephi, and keep all these things sacred, which I have kept, even as I have kept them, for it is for a wise purpose that they are kept." And so I'm going to give you a few other verses to look at here, right here. Will you look at Alma 37, and I want you to look at verses 8 and 9, verses 14 through 16, and then verse number 18. And I want you to see what these things really are and what they will do for us. Again, we're talking about the scriptures here, specifically the Book of Mormon. I love what chapter 37 teaches about the importance of the plates in our lives. So take a minute, look these over, and we'll talk about one thing right after this. So one of the things I think is super cool is you go to verse number 14, and it says, "And now remember, my son, that God has entrusted you with these things, which are sacred, which he has kept sacred, and also which he will keep and preserve for a wise purpose in him, that he may show forth his power unto future generations." So the Book of Mormon is not only for them, but it is for us, and then it is for future generations. The Book of Mormon is never going to go out of style. It's going to be something that we will constantly be learning from. And I love that. It's why our missionaries go out and share the Book of Mormon. Our missionaries are not just to go out there and just be good people. We're supposed to go out there and be good people, but teach about the Book of Mormon. You cannot gather Israel without the Book of Mormon. In fact, I saw a cool little thing Elder Christofferson talked about in a mission president seminar a couple years ago. Look what he said here. He said, to speak of the effectiveness of letting the Book of Mormon speak for itself, and this was in the new mission president seminar, Elder Christofferson told of an interesting experiment conducted recently by a couple of BYU professors, Jeff Sheets and some of his students. They set up a small display in each of 5 major cities in the world: London, Sydney, Chicago, Cape Town, and Las Vegas. At each display, they asked passersby to read one page from the Book of Mormon and mark every reference to God or Jesus Christ that they found on that page. I love that idea. Each participant received a different page to read, and with 531 participants, each of the printed pages of the book was used. Those who were willing had their picture taken and posted in a display with that particular page that they had marked. Many also shared comments. They felt the power of the Book of Mormon just in that simple, brief encounter. After the video, Elder Christofferson remarked, "Given then that the power of the Book of Mormon comes as we allow the book to speak for itself, the question for you is, how will your missionaries," he's talking to mission presidents here, "how will your missionaries get people to read the Book of Mormon and also to pray with real intent about its truthfulness? You might draw something from the experiment of marking a page or pages from the Book of Mormon that we just saw in the video," and they'd put together a video about this. Super cool video. "I am not suggesting that you do the same thing, but there may be a kernel of an idea that would work in your mission." So here's what I want you guys to do. Just a little suggestion here. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 531. Okay, if you've got paper scriptures, you can do that. Or if you have digital scriptures, you can just pick a chapter, any chapter. And what I would like you to do is just go to your page or chapter, and I want you to find the references to God and Jesus. How could these things be of great worth to you and future generations as you remember them? So take a minute and do that and see what you guys can come up with. I know there's going to be tons of them, but see what you can find as you do that. Now, in the rest of chapter 37, there's so many wonderful verses. You've got chapter 37, verse 35, where he talks about learning wisdom in thy youth to keep the commandments of God. You've got verse 37, where he says, counsel with the Lord in all thy doings, and he will direct thee for good. When you lie down at night, lie down unto the Lord. When you rise in the morning, let your heart be full of thanks. And if you do these things, you'll be lifted up at the last day. He talks about the Liahona here. The Liahona is mentioned by name in this particular chapter. chapter. Up to this point, it's just been called a round ball of curious workmanship. So he talks about liahona, how that small and simple thing can bless people's lives, just like the daily reading of the Book of Mormon. We are constantly being asked to do small things. I think a lot of times if we were asked to do large things, we'd jump right at the chance. One of the things I like asking my students is, how many of you would take a bullet for the prophet? And every hand goes up like, you bet I will. I'll go down in a blaze of glory defending the prophet. And then I ask the question, how many of you would read your scriptures every day if he would ask you? And they were just like, okay. Again, a lot of times we think we've got to do some grand, glorious thing. And a lot of times it's the small and simple things that are really going to bless people's lives. Just like that video I showed you yesterday with the kid in the junior jazz jersey. Just a cool, small and simple thing that made huge dividends and caused this kid to really look for God in his life. And when you look for God in your life, you will absolutely find him. Well, finishing up, you go down to verse number 47 and it says, and now my son, see that you take care of these sacred things. Yea, see that you look to God and live. That phrase is so good. Go unto this people, declare the word, and be sober, and just take care. I love the small and simple things. This chapter is one of those, and I feel like I've kind of rushed through it for you guys, but there's so much going on in chapter 37. You could study it for a couple weeks and have a great experience with it. So study chapter 37, look to the small and simple things, look to the reading of the Book of Mormon, and take care of these things in your life, and they will bless you and have the ability to help you look to God and live. I hope that helps you out. Tomorrow we're finishing up the week with Alma 38 and one of my wonderful scripture heroes. Take care. Bye-bye.